Alright, so full disclosure, I was originally going to attempt to beat the original Fallout with just a 10mm pistol this week as a way to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the series by taking things back to where they began. But for whatever reason, my PC just really did not like recording Fallout 1. It's a bit of a shame, so as a somewhat compromise, I am bringing the Fallout 1 protagonist to the Mojave as I ask the question, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as the Vault Dweller? Now, while you could make the point that with a title such as this one that I should be allowed access to any and all weapons and armor from Fallout 1 that have made their way into New Vegas. Although, I instead wanted to keep that original challenge alive to some degree, so the only weapons and armor that I can use are the weathered 10mm pistol and the armoured Vault 13 jumpsuit. Or in other words, anything included in the classic DLC pack because as you might expect, they are very clearly references to the original Fallout. I feel this intro doesn't need to go on any longer than necessary, as the rules are rather simple today, so with all that out of the way, let's begin. To appease everyone, I literally call myself the Vault Dweller, and then just pick one of the presets that look the most generic, as let's be honest, we can't exactly make out a lot of distinguishing features from this. On to my stats, nothing too special. Just a focus on endurance and intelligence, with a little bit of agility and luck for good measure. Maxing out luck would have probably been the best choice if I'm going to be using the pistol for the entire run, but oh well. For tag skills, I chose Guns, Sneak, and Survival. Guns should be fairly self-explanatory. It goes higher, I shoot better. Survival was honestly just so I wouldn't need to invest too many points into it before level 4, as the armoured Vault 13 suit is light armour, therefore I can make use of the Travel Light perk to run just a little bit faster. And finally, as for Sneak, well, initially it was so that I could sneak my weapons into the casinos, but then I realised that while the base game 10mm is considered a holdout weapon, for whatever reason, the weathered version is not. So yes, I may have just wasted a tag skill, assuming I don't get a fair number of sneak attacks in this video. Finally for traits, I just took Skilled and Logan's Loophole. Skilled for more skills, no duh, and Logan's Loophole as it's rare that I ever reach above level 25 in these runs, so I may as well get some bonuses for staying under the max level cap. I make sure to drop everything from my inventory except for the Vault 13 armor, the weathered 10mm pistol, and of course, the trusty Vault 13 canteen. The game would literally be unplayable without that little guy. While starting out with the weapon that I'll be using for the run is of course a welcome bonus, it currently only has 50 bullets. While that may be a decent amount for the very beginning of the game, I am going to need a lot more and as soon as possible. My first stop is actually the old schoolhouse in Goodsprings of all places, as the mantises there can be all taken out relatively quickly, allowing me to hack the terminal and loot the nearby safe for some goodies to sell. I took the spoils to Chet and the plan was to trade them in for ammo, but unfortunately, he was fresh out. No matter, I'm sure the caps will come in handy later, so for now I just dispatch Joe Cobb and see about helping Ringo out of his little predicament. I get the help of Trudy thanks to tagging Sneak, and then convince Doc Mitchell for a few extra stim packs before rushing to the town's aid and putting the weapon to some actual proper use. I managed to take out the first one from stealth, and then moved in to engage the rest. There is no world in which this is a difficult fight, so it goes without saying, a few bullets here and there, and before you know it the quest is complete, and I can level up and receive my reward. After the scuffle, I am down to only 13 bullets, and without a way to purchase or create any more for the time, I am in a desperate need of an alternative. Well, fortunately, on my way out of Goodsprings, we can come across Barton Thorne, who asks us to see if his totally real girlfriend, trust him, she isn't made up, she just lives far away. Anyway, we have no interest in that, imaginary or otherwise, but what does demand our attention is the cache of supplies at the top of the nearby cliff he wanted us to check out. The geckos could mean business if they weren't dumb as rocks and ran headfirst into the nearby bear traps. Just past them in an ammo box is another 10mm pistol that will serve wonderfully for repairs, but the real prize is the 115 bullets that come along with it. This puts me in a pretty good position to start shooting like a madman, so that's exactly what I did. The surviving geckos were all but swiftly dispatched before I descended back down the cliff and began to share the ammo around the nearby powder gangers. It seems they did not appreciate my gift, so I took it to the convicts in Prim in the hopes that they would be more welcoming. Stealth proves somewhat effective again, if for nothing else it gives me the potential to save ammo. Again, we are in the early portions of the game, so it's not like these people will be posing much of a threat. Running out of ammo is honestly my only concern for the time being. I tried Johnson Nash for more ammunition, but once again I am let down at the Mojave's traders and their inability to stock one very specific ammo type. After the last of the convicts are out of the way, I can save Beagle for no other reason than to put Prim Slim in charge of the town. I probably should have handed it over to the NCR, as not only am I heading to the Mojave outpost, but I plan on siding with them this time around. No real reason as to why I'm going with the NCR in terms of the challenge itself, it's just down to the fact that my last New Vegas run had me buddy up with the Legion, and I know for a fact my next two will have me siding with Mr. House and then Yes Man, so I may as well just cycle through all the factions over the course of the month. After leaving Prim to its fate, I get some much needed good news in that the jackals you encounter from here onwards carry 10mm pistols and submachine guns, so for once going on the short rampage actually pays off. By the time I'm done with them, I'm up to 83 bullets, and you would think the smart thing to do now would be to save that ammo until I come across a vendor who actually gives a damn about me. But no, I almost immediately start using them on the nearby rad scorpions so that I may reach level 4 and now have the ability to run 10% faster. It isn't a necessary perk by any means, but I kept thinking if I must fight the Legate and his men with only this pistol, then I at least want to have the option to outrun them to some degree should things begin to get dicey. On up to the Mojave outpost, and I'm not even surprised when the trader doesn't sell me ammo, so it's on to work for Jackson as I begin exterminating some ants. One shot was enough to cripple the ants' heads and stun them, and then from there I could proceed to finish them off with a second shot right afterwards, so it's a complete piece of cake. I'll be spending a decent amount of time around the outpost, I think, because as far as I can tell, Major Knight is the only way I'm going to be able to restore my armor to its full condition, at least until I can take the jury rigging perk. Problem is, paying for 100% repairs gets pricey pretty fast, so I'll need a good amount of money going forward. Thankfully I can get by for now just selling any weapons and armor I got from the gangs in the area, along with all the powder gangers outfits I took from those harassing Goodsprings. Making my way into Nipton, and I do the usual, shoot Swanwick, listen to Volpes, and then turn in his and Ranger Ghost's quest for some extra experience before continuing on the path towards Novak. Despite my genuine hatred and hostile nature towards the powder gangers up until this point, I did decide to save them from the nearby Legion soldiers. I was initially hesitant about getting on the Legion's bad side already, as I didn't wish to contend with their assassins. But then it occurred to me, I have played this game enough by now that I know where they spawn, and as such, I could just avoid them. Things got weird at the camp, and by weird I mean New Vegas just being itself as per usual, as I witnessed a rather unique albeit funny glitch. For some reason, one of the powder gangers was standing up over a Legion soldier, who was instead on his knees in binds. Now, before you think I've witnessed some incredible prisoner exchange standoff between the Legion and the powder gangers, know that as soon as I opened fire on the Legion, that the prisoner got right up and began to return fire. I'm able to take out the Legion, but as expected, this now makes me public enemy number 1, so it's about time I got to Novak and got more ammo. Or, at least that's what I would be saying, but for the first time ever I think, Cliff Briscoe is not selling any 10mm ammo. It's true what they say, as soon as you need something, you will never find it. Okay, so no more messing around, clearly normal merchants and town traders are just not going to work with me today, that's fine. After I deal with that one group of vipers who have a grenade rifle, I head straight for the 188 trading post, and thanks to my high gun skill, can convince Alexander to trade with me. Finally, we are in luck, as I buy all 269 normal rounds off him, along with his 37 hollow points, just in case. Certainly quite the jump from having only 100 bullets earlier, I will say, but thing is, I want more. Seeing how I have somewhat followed the main quest up until this point, I figured it is only right that I make my way down to Boulder City and relieve the cans of their life essence. The cans tend to carry 10mm submachine guns, which not only nets me a lot of ammo, but those things can also sell for nearly 1,000 caps if they're in good enough condition. Plus, all of this does seem rather fitting given the name of the run, right? I mean, I'm certain I'm not the only one who always just slaughters the cans in Fallout 1, given the fact that they are just your run-of-the-mill raiders in that game. Anyway, with them out of the picture, I make my way for Hoover Dam to not only mark it on the map, but to grab the snow globe for later. I won't be collecting them all, but seeing how most of them are in areas I will be visiting for the main quest, I may as well grab them, as they are an incredibly easy source of income. It was around here I decided on my usual way of playing the game, that being completing all the main quests for the NCR before they give them out to me, so that I can cut down on the back and forth. First up, I ran over to Repcon and grabbed the holotape. I figured I could have the Brotherhood side with the NCR again, because why not? Their quests give good experience, and honestly, it doesn't take too long once you know exactly where all their MacGuffins are. While I may be helping the Brotherhood, I am still a Fallout 3 fan at heart, so it's death to the Enclave as I take out Orion Moreno for the simple matter of existing. One day I will bring in the Enclave as well, but that day is not today, mainly because I have a strict no companions rule for most of these runs. Once that's over with, I begin stocking up on ammo with the Gunrunners and Crimson Caravan until I have more than enough to keep me going for the foreseeable future. If I'm collecting the items for the Brotherhood, it makes sense to help the Boomers as well, as trying to grab the holotape while also tap dancing around artillery is not something I feel like trying today. For once, I don't have a high enough medicine skill to fix up the sick patients, so that means I will need to do my usual activities such as fixing the panels, listening to Pete, and clearing out the ants, but on top of that, I will need to fix Jack's love life. It's not a difficult quest, but like most people, I'm not exactly a fan of quests that are literally talk to person A, talk to person B, okay, now return to person A, and then rinse and repeat until the game says stop. At the very least, it is short, and bar one instance of me clipping into the ground that forced me to reload an old save to continue, the rest of my tasks for the Boomers were over in a matter of minutes. By this stage, I had fully maxed out my gun skill, and honestly, you could tell. I was able to kill the lake lurks on the way to the bomber surprisingly quickly. Granted, their mind crushes still do just that, but still, it's progress. Once I secure the floaters to the bottom of the bomber, I return to Loyal, and now that my interaction with the boomers is complete, I will be back later to enlist them in the military. Before leaving, I of course grabbed the second holotape, and now rather than grab the third, it's off to the vaults to grab the components they require later on. It used to be the Vault 11 and Vault 22 took me the longest, as I would always get turned around when exploring the area, especially in Vault 22, but now that I have more than enough experience with this quest, both vaults are fairly simple in and out jobs, as I just slaughter what's in my path as I make my way for the item. Vault 3 is where a majority of my time goes now, although that can be chalked up to the fact that I make sure that every single fiend in and around the structure is dead before proceeding. In fact, this time I somehow took a wrong turn on my way there, and ended up dealing with Driver Nephi, Violet and Cook first. Thanks to Travel Light, Nephi was never even able to catch me as I just backed up my increased speed while I annoyed him with bullets until he finally had enough and just simply died. Violet was the most difficult, and by that I mean she put up somewhat of a fight, as she was at least able to hit me more than once before I abused the power of VATS and took her out. Her dogs were also a complete non-issue. The only one of worth was this little one who decided he was going to go out in style by backflipping his way straight into the afterlife. Honestly, A for effort, he nearly stuck the landing. Finally, as for Cook, well, considering I was approaching from the south, I just took out his prized Brahmin, causing him to go nuts and attack his own men. This resulted in him taking them all out except for one, who managed to somehow get the best of him. I mean, works for me, I'd rather take out the low-level fiend than the crazy cook with the portable grill any day. With them out of the picture was onto their boss Motor Runner, and his overwhelming number of fiends. Considering they are lightly armoured and I am packing enough ammo to supply an entire squad, it's really just a matter of time before I shoot a path right through them into the lower levels of the vault. I also leveled up here and grabbed the Finesse perk. Needless to say, it sped up the whole fiend killing process rather nicely. As usual, despite his somewhat intimidating presence with his chainsaw, Motor Runner is dead before you know it, as I light him up as soon as I open the doors. If he didn't have to go through his whole animation when standing up from his throne, then maybe he would have stood a chance. But even with his dogs acting like meat shields, I was able to blast through his defenses in a matter of seconds, so I don't know how much of a difference it would have made in the end. I make sure to grab his valuables before retrieving the final component, and now it was off to Hidden Valley to begin and wrap up the Brotherhood's questline in a few minutes. Procuring the final holotip from the centaurs is child's play, as they are slow, weak, and give good experience, so really my type of enemies for runs like this. Making my way into the bunker, I am stripped, questioned, and then thrown back out into the world with my head ready to explode with all the new knowledge I've gathered. I had a brief heart attack when I retrieved my equipment from the chest, and the weathered 10mm pistol was nowhere to be seen. But luckily, this was just because I had accessed my inventory too fast after looting, and it didn't have enough time to appear. When it came to dealing with Dobson, I could of course smash his radio, set it to blow, or talk him into leaving. But I opted to just continue making my pistol the star of the show by using it as my problem solver instead. A sneak attack followed by a few extra shots takes him to low health, and then to avoid losing rep with the NCR, I holstered my gun to make him accept my surrender, and then once his back was turned again, took another shot that put him down for good, and because it was done in stealth, I didn't lose a single point of reputation. I returned to the Elder for my just rewards, that being the keys to the bomb collar, and once he returned to his chambers, I handed in the holotapes and got to work finding the scouts. This is the one portion of the quest you cannot complete beforehand, as the scouts only spawn into the world now, but it's not a big deal as they're all in locations we visited before, except one. Not that he's very difficult to reach, you just head east from Old Lady Gibson and you're there in a few minutes. The Castledores and Geckos may look terrifying, but they also tend to fight each other while you scurry away to the nearby hills. Okay, now it is time to wrap things up. I return the reports and components and finish the quest. For no reason other than experience, I also asked to join the Brotherhood and got tasked with messing with the radio controls in Black Mountain. This leads me to use the shortcut that has become my new favourite way of dealing with this quest, and then I put the pistol to good use once more, as I make a beeline for the Nightkin Sniper to make sure he doesn't launch my severed legs into orbit with a single blast. Freeing Raoul leads me to fighting Tabitha, but when I was doing so, I just backed up onto a slightly higher piece of geometry, which confused the hell out of her, allowing me to take advantage and sway the battle in my favour, taking her out and finishing the quest. I then activated the radio, got training for armour I will never wear, and now it's off to make some repairs before I make good on my promise from before and exterminate the Grey Khans. Walking straight into their longhouse attracts zero attention, which is honestly fine, as it allows me to just open fire willy-nilly and only stop mashing the trigger once everyone has stopped squirming. Despite being their fearless leader, I found Papa Khan hiding underneath the table. After cleaning up the rest of them in the actual canyon area, it's finally time to make my way towards the inside of Vegas as I enter Freeside and begin working with Elvis. Shooting Oris in the back of the head is a better solution than just playing along with his games, as no one even cares that he's dead, plus it saves time. This then leads into me relaying information and messages between the King, the people of Freeside, Julie Farkas, and the NCR, all so we can have peace when the time comes. It feels a little wrong to go full pacifist on a quest like that whenever one of the main points of the run is to only use the weathered 10mm pistol, so I'll make up for it right now as I head into Vegas and right into Gamora. The best part about this, other than the usual slaughter, is that thanks to helping out the king, I was pushed to level 14, and therefore now have the jury rigging perk and can repair my weapons and armour with other small firearms and light clothes, which the Omertas just so happen to all have. Once more, like the gangs at the beginning of the run, the Omertas mostly carry submachine guns, so I come out of there with a lot more ammo than I entered. That's good, as I will need it in the tops, as like I mentioned before, this variant of the pistol is not a holdout weapon for whatever reason, and like hell they're taking it off me. They put up less of a fight than the Omertas, so nothing worth going over here. I did put my sneak to good use once more, as I took out Benny with a single hip-fired stealth critical. I then grabbed the chip, even though it's pointless for an NCR run, and then made my way to hand in all my quests. During this, I somehow managed to give Volpes the slip, and he was now chasing me around the NCR embassy anytime I entered. I know what you're thinking, and the answer is no. After he followed me into the embassy, he was stuck inside and couldn't leave, so he would not be able to track me down across the desert. After I turned in the relevant quests, it was time to head for the dam, and right when I was about to leave, it hit me. I completely forgot about Mr. House. I make sure to turn in my snow globes first, and then I just walk right past his guards and proceed into his basement, where I don't even give him the courtesy of finishing his animation, as I just fire a few shots into the container, causing it to freak out for a moment before he dies. Okay, now it's off to the dam, and after telling the Colonel the good news about the cans and Omertas, can briefly return to the bunker and agree to the truce between the NCR and the Brotherhood. This then throws me right into defending Kimball. You may have noticed the somewhat increased ammo count. Well, that's because I convinced Quartermaster Barden to sell his stock to me, and as usual, the guy is carrying way more ammo than he has any idea what to do with. Despite my newfound surplus of ammunition, it doesn't help much in the defense of the President. Don't get me wrong, I still managed to take out the Legion sniper, and the ammo certainly helped. But it seems they heard the scuffle between us as he began fleeing the scene and boarded his vertibird before I had time to make my way down and retrieve the detonator from the second assassin. In other words, while the President may no longer be with us, at least the Legion has the courtesy to spread his ashes over the dam before the start of the battle. With the help of the Brotherhood and NCR Rangers, as well as the finesse and better criticals perks, fighting through the lower sections of the dam was honestly way more simple than it had any right to be. When we made it up top, things continued to go well. The Legion were still focused on the soldiers, which gave me time to pick my shots and take out a few of them. Unfortunately, in the chaos, I forgot to keep an eye on my health, and as a result, died in the process. Rather than painstakingly fight my way back across the dam, I instead just ran for the door to the next area and convinced the Rangers to help me push towards the camp, which worked very well. They did not follow me into the camp itself, sadly, so it was up to me and me alone to take out the last of the Legate's men and the man himself. The Praetorian Fisters weren't all that tough, probably because sunglasses don't stop bullets aimed right for the eyes. Go figure. I also made sure to not only kill the veterans with the assault rifles, but to take their weapons and ammo, otherwise when the reinforcements spawn, the weaker melee legionaries will pick them up and make things just a little bit more difficult for me. I was determined to fight the Legate this time with all of his men, because after all I had plenty of ammo, weapons and armour for repairs, and a decent amount of healing supplies and drugs that I'd saved up for just this fight. The only way to describe this is that it was a war of attrition. The Legate's armour is far too strong for me to do any real damage to him with the pistol, and I am just a little too quick with too many healing supplies for him to take me out in a few swings. His backup was easy enough to deal with. Whenever I could get away from the Legate for a minute, I would just focus them down in VATS with 4 headshots, one of which would normally crit and result in a near instant kill. The entire fight lasted close to 10 minutes of just me backing up and firing the pistol over and over and over and over again. Just this for 10 minutes. Eventually, I took the high ground and got some worthwhile shots in, and after managing to expertly dodge him like the bull that he is, could finally land a few last shots that took him down. The last of his men were cleared out rather easily, allowing me to approach the gate, where I leveled up thanks to the explosion killing the nearby dogs, spoke with Oliver, leveling up a second time for completing the quest, finishing the game, and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout New Vegas as the Vault Dweller. This run was actually a lot easier than I thought. Sure, the Legate was a bit of a slog, but that's still only one fight out of an entire playthrough. The armour was just alright, but the pistol, as you saw, was effective all the way to the end, which honestly answers another question that everyone already knows the answer to, and that's that all the starting weapon packs are overpowered and should probably not be used in casual playthroughs unless you wish to make the game very easy. Regardless, that's going to be this challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider a video a like. If you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe to one of these videos every week. My name's Nerbit, stay safe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.